Thank you very much and welcome back to GHTV. We appreciate your patience in the midst of all these technical difficulties. But just for an informational recap, or a recap on the information of the strike, it is very important to note that there are more than 12,000 public college faculty currently on strike as per the 5-day notice that the OPSEU gave to the Employer Council and the public on Thursday as of that would apply to this morning. In order to establish what is going on, to figure out this entire situation, we've brought in guests, and we also have a reporter on the field at the picket lines to talk to some of the people in the midst of all this. And her name is Ashta Shetty. So now we're going to go to Ashta Shetty. Ashta, what's going on down at the picket lines? Tell me about the feel and the general environment of the situation.
Hi, John. The field is quite empty because I'm standing here in the middle of the street right outside Humber College and the University of Guelph Humber. And if you look around, you can hardly see anybody on campus today. And the reason for that is last night, Sunday night, the OPSEU's proposal to increase costs and services by $250 million was rejected. And as a result, campus members, faculty members were required to send students an email letting them know that all classes are canceled, not only for Humber College students, but also for Guelph Humber students. And if we look over there, John, right outside Humber College Boulevard, you can see the strikers, and those are professors, instructors, counselors, anybody over there works for Humber College and the University of Guelph Humber. And it's not just this campus, John, it's 24 other campuses where teachers and instructors and counselors are standing outside protesting, asking for an increase in pay, more academic freedom, amongst other things.
And although, Ashta, you did say it is a bit of an empty parking lot, a bit of an empty situation, for those who are entering the parking lot, what are some important things they should know in terms of the etiquette and some precautions they should take when approaching the picket liners?
Well, one thing to know is that this is a peaceful protest. All of these protesters are very peaceful and calm people. But if you are entering, you will find some delays. There are security holding stop signs, letting people driving by know that they should slow down. And if they want to enter the campus, there's actually a line up there that I saw coming in on the outer corner of the campus. So it is quite slow going coming into the campus, but keep your voices low, be polite. Don't pick a fight. You know, these protesters are just trying to get their message across and not really physically quarrel with anybody.
Now, Ashta, I can see in the background there for the people on the picket lines, there are some materials, some posters, maybe pamphlets of sorts. What is some of the material being brought out to this event here? What are they handing out to people?
Well, they are handing out some flyers with some information on what students can expect and what the teachers and instructors are protesting about. I've even seen some posters on the Humber College LRC building. I saw a poster over there as well. If you look at the protesters, they're also holding signs that say, "Same job, same pay." John, they're looking to share a message, and they seem to be doing quite a good job of that.
Well, Ashta, thank you very much for that update. We will get back to you a little bit later on for more information on the picket lines and any continued updates on the strike. Thank you, Ashta, once again. And with that being said, back in the studio here, I am joined by two very special guests. One by the name of Greg Kung and Amr Alana. These two are paramedics. These two are paramedic students from Humber College, and they have developed a petition that has been getting a lot of traction as of late online, and it's been getting a lot of signatures and attention. And with that being said, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So the first question is, the original goal of this petition, or at least one of the original goals, there was an idea for 35,000 signatures. That's been surpassed. There's more than 40,000 now, and the next goal is 50,000. Where do you guys see this going? Where does it end?
Why don't you start this one?
Sure. So, I mean, we are also surprised and impressed and happy to see the uptake and the number of people that have lent their voice to the petition. So we're kind of in a stage of thinking, what do we want to do with the signatures that we've gotten? It means that there's a large constituency out there that this message is resonating with. So now it's kind of, we're going to think amongst ourselves today as to what message we want to take to our members of parliament, how we want to amplify this. So for now, I think more signatures the better. The way I think about it is that there's 500,000 students that are affected, so 43,000 is getting to what I would call kind of a good percentage of students, but there's tons more there. So I'm happy to see kind of more signatures build up as we then take this to the next level.
And I'm sure you know already that our petition asked for a tuition refund. So we have been getting questions about, are we going to start getting this tuition refund? And there are a lot of students that are under a lot of stress and anxiety, not only just with school, but now with this idea, they're eager to see whether they can get some of their money back. The message that we've kind of been sharing is, look, we're still fighting for you guys, but we didn't want to be the face of this. I think we created this for students because their voice wasn't being heard. So we're hoping that the student population takes it to the next level, engages with their, like Amr said, engages with their MPPs, engages with their local peers and administrators and faculty.
So you guys talk about refunds being a key idea in this petition. What's the more detailed approach to that? How do you guys want to see that go about?
Well, so we broke it down that generally college students today in Ontario pay around $40 a day just for tuition. That doesn't include your living expenses, your transportation expenses, whatnot. So what we ask for is a $30 a day refund for full-time students and a $20 a day for part-time students. We think this is fair, a fair amount that we've calculated. As far as what we see next, I mean, I'll let Amr take this one.
Right, but I think it's important to remember that ultimately the goal of this petition was to avoid a strike, and now the goal is to minimize the duration of a strike. So our hypothesis was that financial pressure will add incentive, will add pressure to the negotiating parties, and will speak loud and clear to government that this kind of prolonged, almost impasse in negotiation is not acceptable to the people who are most affected by it. And that was the message we wanted to send. And the question that we were asking is that historically in Ontario, in college strikes and university strikes, why do they drag on for 2-3 weeks? And we don't know the answer to that. We honestly don't. If I was to take a guess, and this is kind of where some of that kind of conjecture comes in, is potentially that's the point at which students' semesters become at risk, as in there's an increased risk that a student might be set back a semester, and at that point the ministry would mandate a partial refund. And the kind of more jaded part of me thinks that that's perhaps what triggers the two parties to sit down and get things done. So we said, why don't we just pull back that financial pressure to day one? And that's where this came from.
And let me remind viewers that these parties have been negotiating since May. I mean, we're in October currently, and they're no closer to any resolution than they were in May. And that's the unfortunate nature of what students are facing today. And they keep saying that they have students' best interests at heart. Unfortunately, we're not really seeing it. I mean, students aren't in class today. They're not learning today, and they're being used as, I guess, bargaining chips, if you want to call it that.
So you guys represent a student perspective, and more specifically, you are Humber College students. How do you think the communication between the school and its students has been so far in terms of the quality, and what should they continue to do?
I think it's unfair for us to say that they haven't done their due diligence to talk to the students and keep them apprised of what's happening. I know we have been paying close attention to it, but there's probably a lot of people out there who just weren't as engaged with the process as we were. but we were not in a position to say that they didn't do their job of letting students know what was happening or what was coming down the drain. We just hope that really it boils down to that we want them to just come to an agreement as soon as possible. And if they are bargaining in good faith, why don't they start bargaining today?
And since this has gained so much traction, this petition, have other people outside of the student body contacted you to give their opinion? Faculty, government officials, any people of that nature giving you any feedback on this?
So not directly as of yet. We've heard a lot of back and forth on social media. Some interesting back and forth where people are chiming in from multiple sides of the equation. From the taxpayer side, how do we ensure that education costs don't spiral out of control? From the union side, and also people just worried about labor, how do we ensure that jobs are not temporary and contract-based in nature? That's a very valid question as well. Then from the college side is how do they maintain flexibility in hiring practices? And again, we understand that those are all important issues, and the balance of how that gets struck is what negotiation is about. So we've heard that on social media, and they each interpret our petition a bit differently, right? They're saying, oh, well, are they on our side? Are they on our side? Like that's kind of what we're hearing. But I think our clear message is that we are bringing another side to the table, and that's the student side.
Right. Yeah, we're not taking a side, and we've been very clear that we're not in favor of one side of this negotiation over the other. We just want to say students need to be heard. They are demanding to be heard, and I think that's very apparent with the virality of this petition. And if they're not heard, people are going to be increasingly frustrated, and it's starting to come to a boiling point. So that's why we're going to try to move it to the next step, where we take it to government officials and administrators as well.
And just the last question here. This is a bit of conjecture that some people have been saying, but there's been a lot of things going around where after X amount of time, the semester will be canceled, and this sort of fear. In the midst of this, where people maybe don't want to do much, what can students do to stay proactive and informed, and where specifically can they reach your petition to learn more about it?
Well, I'll just touch quickly where they can find it. I mean, it's hosted on change.org currently. It has a really long name, so I won't try to remember it off the top of my head, but if they just search for Ontario college students, it's one of the fastest growing petitions on the website, so they can easily find us there. They can also connect with us on Twitter. We've had really great engagement with individuals on Twitter as well. It's at @ON_COLL students. And I'll let Amr take care of kind of what they can do to be engaged still.
Right. And I think for a lot of college students, they're going to be entering the workforce imminently. And that's going to be, they're going to have to deal with employment, they're going to have to deal with unions and negotiations. And I think it helps to be informed. And I think right off the bat, both sides of the story and the government perspective are all available online. So go to the council's website, go to OPSEU's website, learn about the issues, grapple with them. And the one thing I'd say I'd highly encourage and push everyone to do is contact your representative, contact your MPP, because I think students are very much in a powerless position, and that's because our tuition's paid. We were hoping for learning. We were hoping for this semester to be in class right now, and I think that because it's a public system, you have to contact your representative, and that's the only way you're going to get heard.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for this information. It's been great to have you in the GHTV studios. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having
That has been Greg Kung and Amr Alana in the GHTV studios live. And now we're going to send it to our other reporter, Nathan Schubert for GHTV. He's been talking to a couple of students on campus about their thoughts on this entire strike situation.
I'm Nathan Schubert, and I'm here asking students about what they think of the strike.
This is a joke. I'm paying almost $7 grand a year for tuition, and the administration can't get its stuff together to get to an agreement. This is just a travesty.
I'm not actually sure what the strike is on, and if it's even on in Guelph Humber, or if it's just for Humber or not, so I'm just pretty much just confused on the subject.
I think it's terrible. It's been really inconvenient all week worrying whether or not this strike is actually going to happen. And as a fourth-year student, it's really concerning to me about how the rest of the year is going to go.
I just think it's very inconvenient. I'm not entirely sure what it's exactly about, but in terms of having to stop class and whatnot, I feel like it's just going to completely delay what I have to accomplish in terms of my courses.
I'd say it's pretty unfortunate what's happening, and we're not really aware of what's going on, but at the same time, I could use a reading week or a break right now, so I'm actually okay with it, to be honest.
I think the strike will negatively affect all students, so it is a bad thing that's happening. But I think it is fair for all the teachers that are involved because they want their demands to be met.
Well, the strike is definitely surprising, and well, it's kind of worrying to know that it's possible it can even go up to 2 months. I'm glad that my activities are not affected yet. Like, I still have my dodgeball and my other practices in sports, but it's not exactly the priority when I need my studies and my education.
Hello, viewers. Thank you for tuning in once again. That was Nathan Schubert with a few students giving their perspective on the strike situation. And just to give a little informational recap, there are more than 12,000 public college faculty on strike as of right now, as of 12:01 this morning. Humber faculty specifically handed out these pamphlets at picket lines addressing 5 key things they want: for more full-time faculty, contract faculty that need job security, equal pay, academic freedom to create curriculum, and a balance between counselors and students. So that is the particular requests from Humber faculty. And with more information on what's going on at the picket lines and what's surrounding the parking lots outside of Humber College, people who are addressing the strike and going on strike, we are going to send it to a GHTV reporter, Alex Hansiuk, out in the field. Alex, tell me where you are right now and give me a bit of a brief update here.
In the LRC right now because it's getting pretty cold outside, but things are sort of slowing down a bit. I mean, the cold is definitely out there right now, and it seems like there's less picketers right now, and it's sort of slowing down a bit, but still going strong.
So you just mentioned it's cold out, it's some tough weather out there. Have you talked to any picket liners who have had maybe a few things to say about how that's maybe got them down or how they're powering through it? What's the general attitude out there because of it?
So far, it's been pretty good. They're walking in packs right now, having a good time. Basically, all of them have Tim Hortons coffee, which is, nicely Canadian. But the morale has been pretty high. Everyone's wearing gloves. They're teachers. They come prepared, which is, something that a lot of people can strive towards. So it's good.
So for people, we touched on this with Ashta earlier on the program, but just to recap, for people who are the very few people who would be entering campus having to go through the picket lines, what's the general process there? What can they expect to see when they approach a striker at a picket line, and what's the protocol there?
So I gotta say, this is probably the most polite, the kindest protest I've ever seen. And I mean, when a car comes up, what actually happens is, they sort of approach the car, they all stand in a line, and they're like, here's our flyer, we're striking. And then, I mean, the people in the car, they're not getting that angry. It's an extra like 20 seconds, but their message is being heard, which I think is what they're trying to do. And it's, like Ashley said earlier, it's completely nonviolent, it's completely passive right now, and, it's really cold outside, so they're surprisingly still keeping it, nice and friendly, and that's basically what the process is so far.
Now you mentioned, and I mentioned, that they're handing out pamphlets with certain requests, but as we saw in previous footage, they're also holding signs, posters. What's some of the material on there? What are they trying to project out there to the public?
So the message they're trying to get across is that, I mean, a big part of why they're protesting is that there's more contract workers than there are full-time workers right now. It's a 70-30 split. And what they want to do is take it to a 50-50 split and get paid the same for doing the same job, because contract workers don't often get the same amount as full-time workers or the same benefits, and they just want to be respected and treated with that. And that's what the message of their sign and their slogan is really saying. So.
Now, as far as the collective groups have been going on outside of the picket lines, how willing have they been able to talk to either you or other members of the public that approach them just at a personal level, not necessarily passing in cars or coming in? What's the connectivity there with the public there like?
Oh, so you're talking about the non-strikers, right? So basically, there aren't a lot of people around here. The people that are friendly with the strikers and friendly with that going on too. And a lot of them just, want to be on film, want to be on TV and that stuff too. I mean, we had a lot of media trucks here, a lot of people filming just like us. So it's been sort of low key because there aren't a lot of people. But what has been, it's like I've said before, it's nice, it's peaceful. The sun's out again. It was raining before, but things seem to just be going nicely. So.
Alex, thank you very much for that update. We are going to now bring it live back into the studio. Alex, thank you once again.
Take care, John.
That was Alex Hadzik with GHTV reporting from the picket lines at the Humber Learning Resource Commons. And so what we're going to do now is just a recap for any viewers who are just tuning in now. There is currently, as you may or may not know already, a labor strike in regards to public college faculty members, over 12,000 of them. As of 12:01 this morning, picket lines have been developed at Guelph Humber, Humber, and countless other campuses around Ontario, giving information as to what's occurring with the strike and how the negotiations are going, where people stand on this issue. Now, an important thing to know, as we received from Alex, in case you didn't hear or you weren't tuned in for that interview, there are a few things that you should follow, general guidelines you should be aware of when you're entering your respective campus and facing picket liners, which is to be respectful. Be aware of the fact that they may or may not stop you for a brief moment. There may be some delays in terms of your commute because of that. They only just want to be heard. They will hand out some materials in regards to their expectations from the negotiations and what they want to see happen and what they want to see changed. And overall, it is a very peaceful protest. That has been the overall, the message and the vibe that has been coming from our reporters, is that it is a peaceful protest. So that should be kept into account for the public who are entering campus and trying to get a foothold in their community. We have a live view right now of the parking lot. Actually, if you can see on your screen right now, this is the Humber North College, I should say, campus parking lot, in which you can see commuters about, and especially picket liners sort of surrounding the road area past the construction over here. These entry points are where you will see these groups of college professors coming together. As far as how long they've been there for, we are not totally aware if they've been there since 12:01 a.m., but Guelph Humber opens up from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m., so we can possibly assume that they have been here from the opening of the school. It has been a long time. It's cold weather out there, so they are braving the conditions for a very long period of time out by these particular entry points at the Guelph Humber parking lot. And that is as much information as we have right now in regards to the college professors coming together at the picket lines. And that is some crucial information for you, possibly a commuter, either faculty or student, to know if you are entering your respective campus. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more information on the labor strike. People on Ashta's side. Hello and welcome back to the special broadcast of GHTV covering the public college faculty strike that is currently occurring. In case you are not aware or you're just tuning into the program now, more than 12,000 public college faculty are currently on strike across Ontario. That means at Guelph Humber North Campus, and countless other campuses around the province, there are picket lines formed around the entrances in the midst of intense negotiations, or as some are saying in previous interviews we've had, some sort of separate negotiations. As part of this program, we have had guests come in, including Greg Kung and Amr Alana, who is a student, who are two students that developed a petition revolving around student refunds. Unfortunately, we had two other guests booked in today. Unfortunately, they could not make it. Those are Andrew Leopold and Elisa Schmidt. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it in. They are respectively the Director of Communications for Humber, as well as the Director of Communications and Public Relations for Guelph Humber. Now, just to recap more of what's going on, Humber faculty, particularly in some pamphlets they've handed out today at picket lines, want 5 things. More full-time faculty. They also want more security for those who are part-time and on contract. More academic freedom, so as for professors to create the curriculums that they want to see students taking on. They also want equal pay. And number 5 is that they want to see more of a balance between counselors and students so as to counteract the very severe issue of mental health across different campuses around Ontario and North America and Canada specifically. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we had those 2 students come in about the petition, and now we are going to get into some of the specifics online at the petition from the website itself. Going to read some comments and concerns that students are having in regards to this situation and the petition. So we're at a topic here right now for the reasons for signing the petition. Just bear with us here one moment. Matthew, whoever's operating the social media right now, please pan to the left. Bear with us, audience. We are just trying to gather some comments. Matthew Mullis, here we go. Matthew Mullis made a comment, quite simply, because we pay to learn. Yes, money is an issue that has been brought up on many occasions. However, there have been some conflicting viewpoints on that as well, as some of the pamphlet material that's been handed out says it's not about money. However, some reports, including from the CBC and other news outlets, have reported that there's as much as a $400 million gap between the 2 parties in the negotiations. Those 2 parties being the OPSEU and the College Employers Council. So that's important to know that money is, a huge amount of money is really at stake here. Another reason for signing the petition, it's the right thing to do. It's on principle. A lot of students are saying, at least those who have left comments here, it's on principle. They pay to learn, they pay to take classes, and they expect refunds. The petition is specifically aimed at ensuring that students, both full-time and part-time, receive refunds. The guests that came in for the petition outlined that full-time students, they expect $40 a day that we missed to be refunded, and part-time students to be $20 a day refunded. Those are the calculations they have come to in the petition and what they feel is fair compensation for the students who are affected by this strike. Beth Hyde-Smith says here on the comments for the petition, I'm one of the affected students, and my teacher's right and power to strike is very important to me. So it's frustrating to hear that this is unlikely to even monetarily damage the school. It is frustrating to hear for some students. Some do side with the faculty. Some do take a very strong stance with the faculty. Some are not very involved in either of the parties. It's a very difficult situation in terms of coming together and figuring out just what is right, what is wrong, what this is all about. And now with that being all said, we're going to throw it back to one of our GHTV reporters out on the field in the picket lines, Ashta, our very own Ashta Shetty. Ashta, what's the update out there at the Humber College entrance towards the picket lines there?
Thanks, John. We're a little closer to the picket line now. This is the Humber College Boulevard over here. And I've also picked up one of the flyers that the teachers are handing out to passers-by. And I think this is the one you referred to with the 5 points and the PS, it's not about money sign on the corner. These people are very friendly, John, and they want to tell you about exactly why they're out here, and they're trying to make that very clear.
Now, who are some particular people you've spoken to? Any professors with interesting viewpoints on the situation?
We're trying to find Bob Wolf, sorry. Bob Wolf is the union leader. He's around the corner somewhere, so we're hoping to talk with him soon. But as for specifics, a lot of the professors, they say they want academic freedom, and academic freedom means that each professor has sort of the freedom to decide which part of the curriculum they want to use and how, and sort of put their own spin on it. They say this is better for students, and that this benefits both students and teachers.
So you said, obviously, interviews can be hard to find. You're looking for Bob Wolf at the moment. What are some concerns you would want to raise to him? What are some things you would want to find out from him? That information we'd expect to maybe hear from him? Some topics of concern.
Well, John, I would love to ask him what. I'm very fascinated by the sign that says "Same work, same pay." I would want to know more about that. So if we get the chance to see him around, John, I would ask him that. As for the general message and all the other questions on how and why these people are here, and in this really cold weather, John, they're very passionate and they're very dedicated. We're freezing out here, but they're still here and they're still out there putting their message across. And the message is quite clear, as you can see over here in this pamphlet and the many posters posted around the school, as well as the signs that some of these protesters are holding up. John, these are our instructors, there are professors, there are counselors. These are people we see every day when we go to school. And it's really fascinating to see them join forces and stand by Humber College Boulevard, to talk about why they want a bigger pay and why they want an increase in budget and what academic freedom means to the future of higher education learning.
All right, Ashta, well, thank you very much for that update once again. Please continue to search for Bob Wolf. We would love to hear what he has to say. Thank you very much once again, Ashta Shetty.
I will keep you updated, John. We are looking for him, and we will let you know when we find him. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ashta. Now, just to recap a couple of things that Ashta may have said if you're just new and tuning in, these are the primary demands from the teachers, at least outside of Humber College, the picket lines we see here now. Number one is academic freedom. This encompasses the idea of creating curriculums as they see fit, as they see that the students should be taking on and should be learning. Some teachers may feel as though that they do not have that kind of ability to create and craft a particular curriculum for their students. The number two request is job security for part-time faculty. A lot of the employment in the public college realm comes from contract work, comes from part-time contract work. And a lot of issues that come with that is short-term contracts that result in a lack of security. At least that's what the teachers say. That is how they feel in this instance. And that is a huge thing they are voicing at these negotiations. Number three is an equal ratio of counselors and students. Now, again, this is a Humber-specific request from the Humber Faculty Union. This is encompassing the idea that the counselors should, at least the population of counselors, should match up the population of students, because there is, quite frankly, a huge issue with mental health, especially around midterms, as it is right now, midterm season for many universities and colleges alike, it is important that scheduling can be filled and there could be a proportionate amount of counselors to students to address those mental health needs that are very important in these negotiations. There needs to be more full-time faculty. At least that's what they are proposing. That is what they are requesting. This links into the first issue brought up in regards to part-time and contract work. That's part of security, is bringing in more full-time positions at colleges. And that is why, at least a huge reason why, more than 12,000 employees from the OPSEU are currently on strike and forming picket lines. And an interesting factoid is 81% of teaching in our colleges is done by contract faculty. Previously reported, there have been numbers such as 70% to 30%. Actually, we are now confirming in GHTV that it is an even higher amount. So that is a very important thing to keep track of in regards to these negotiations. And once again, some of these concerns that Humber faculty have do overlap with the OPSEU as a whole. However, not all of them match up, so these are important distinctions to make. The Humber Faculty Union is a separate union on its own from the OPSEU, so there's going to be separate requests, separate demands, but of course some overlap. Now, with that being said, we are going to continue our social media outreach and see what some students or anybody else in the conversation wants to have voiced out there and put out there, or maybe questions they may have, concerns. *_motivator on Facebook said, "So sad to hear that the students pay the consequences. A shame that the Guelph professors can't continue their teaching and cross the picket line to continue with their classes/exams." Now, for those who may not know, that is actually specifically indicating an issue at Guelph Humber, because it is a combination between the two institutions of the University of Guelph and Humber College. The OPSEU is a union in regards to the contracts of public college workers. Now, as the commenter would have said there, that doesn't necessarily apply, actually doesn't at all apply to those contracted under Guelph University. However, statements have been released from the Vice Provost of the University of Guelph Humber that all classes will be suspended regardless of which professors match up with which union, and that is the main complaint that they are voicing there. Deanna Michelle, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is lovely. Thanks for holding students hostage. Yes, some people have very fierce opinions on this, some very it's a very emotional thing with so many parties involved, with so many people to appease and address. It is a very emotional period of time, whether it's the students who are paying for an education that they are currently not receiving, full-time and part-time faculty who want to see changes in their contracts, or the counselor of college employers who are, and the administrators who are in charge of distributing these funds. There are many parties involved in this, and it can become a very difficult situation. At Create-ish says, "I was upset about the strike until I started learning what they are striking for. College administration is the real villain, it seems. #college strike." Now, again, as I said, the administration's issue, or a role, I should say rather, is to distribute the funds correctly, and part of the reason there is a strike is there seems to be a disagreement as to how it should be distributed, and thus why they are currently in negotiations. To find out more information, to develop your own opinion on these sorts of things, it's crucial that you keep informed at the OPSEU website, your respective school or faculty's website for any updates, as well as the counselor of college employers. Keep informed on social media and their respective websites to keep yourself involved in the conversation and to have your own opinion on these things. It's important to generate a conversation and to develop further dialogue as we go through this difficult period of strikes. I'm now just receiving a call live from our reporter, Ashta Shetty, who's out in the field from the picket lines. We're going to tune into her now. Ashta, thank you very much for joining us once again. Please let us know who you're joined by.
Hi, John. I'm here with Mike. He's a literature prof, English prof over at Humber College. He's here with the picket line today. He's one of the protesters. Mike, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a bit about what makes you come out here and join the picket line
Sure. For me, the big issue, and I think for most of us, is the ratio of part-time faculty to full-time faculty. It's been growing, so more part-time, fewer full-time faculty for a number of years now, and we sort of see it as an alarming trend. We think that having a full-time job is a good thing, and we think it's good for the students, and we're seeing that's eroding. So we're really worried that this profession is really being kind of pushed to the margins in a lot of ways, and that's really why we're out here right now. So it's not about money, it's not about getting a raise, it's about protecting the profession. That's what we're all here for.
Right, and the flyer over here says that you also want academic freedom. Can you explain to us what that means?
Sure. So as professors, we like to have a hand in what we teach. We like to be involved in the development of the courses that we teach, as well as what the roles are that the students are supposed to do, the assignments they're supposed to do, how they're graded. That's part of, as the experts, as people who are teachers, we feel that we should have a hand in that. And increasingly that's disappearing at the college level. We're seeing those decisions are being made by administrators or people outside of direct interaction with the students. So we want to have some say in what we teach. We're not just here to deliver, coffees to people. We're experts, and so we want to have that acknowledged, so that it doesn't erode anymore. That's where we're at. We want to be allowed to do our jobs and have the support to do our jobs properly. And we don't feel we'll have that as contract faculty, and we won't have that if we don't have some say in what we feel the students should be learning. Because we're at the front lines of it. So
How long have you been out here?
I got here at about 9 this morning, I guess. I managed to show up just when it started raining, but it stopped now. It's okay. It's not so bad now. So it's our first day. Hopefully we won't have too many days, but yeah, it's not much fun. I think we'd all rather be inside right now teaching. This is pretty lame. I've been walking for about 3.5 hours now, so yeah, I'd rather be talking literature with my students. I didn't cancel my class today, and, so I'd rather be doing that. But it's an important thing, I think. We're watching kind of the profession being eroded, I guess. It's alarming, especially for those colleagues I have who've been teaching at the partial load, which is a part-time gig, doing the same job as me for years and years.
If you can ask
There's
about
no reason why they shouldn't be paid the same kind of job security for doing this. So it really is. I mean, it's a lot about this idea of
Now, a lot of the students are concerned they can't communicate with their professors during this time. But what is the message, if your students were watching right now, that you could tell them to calm down a little bit?
Well, I did talk to my students about this before we went on strike, and obviously the faculty are committed to making sure that the semester is salvaged. We want to make sure that they get what they need to know before the end of the semester. Hopefully this won't go on for a very long time, but it is kind of out of our hands to a certain extent. It's supposed to be a negotiation, and the two sides are actively negotiating. There's not much we can do, and I feel a little terrible that the students are caught in between. All I can really do in a situation like this to be heard is to take away my labor, and that means unfortunately that we can't be there to teach our students or to kind of talk to them about it. I think both sides are very much committed to salvaging the semester. We don't want to see students not get their diplomas, not get their degrees. We want to make sure that they're out there doing things. I mean, I don't think most of us would get into teaching if we just didn't like students. I'm sure there are some teachers out there like that, but I've never met them. And we want to make sure that they're going to be okay. So hopefully we'll be back soon. This will just be a few days, and the two sides will start talking again and negotiating, which is what we're asking for. And the messaging that seemed to be coming down from the College Council today was that we should just accept their offer from last week, and there's no more discussion. So to me, that's problematic. So I feel for the students, I feel for the teachers, support staff, I feel for the people that sell food here at the campus who are going to probably get laid off. It's a terrible situation. They shouldn't come to this. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, thank you so much.
I hope your semester is going to be okay. It will be okay. It's always up there. Even York was up for 3 months one time. I think most people, everyone got there. You'll be okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, have a good day.
And that was Mike. That was Mike from Humber College. He's a professor again of English, and he parted with some wise words and some calming words for his students, or all other students like you and me, John, who may be worried about our midterms, who may be worried about what's going to happen with their grades or assignments. John, do you have any more questions regarding the picket line?
Yeah, absolutely, Ashta. Just overall, you know, you've been in the midst of all this. You've seen the professors discussing the issues with students and anybody else entering the school, and some of the media presence outside of us. Just tell us some of the most key points that those viewing right now should be reminded of this picket line situation that you were out in.
Right, John. So there's not a lot of students on campus for the reason that there's no classes, but there are a few students still going in and out for other work or businesses or people working in the building. And if you're coming in for a shift now, you should know that this is a really peaceful picket line. There are a few delays coming in from Humber College Boulevard, so if you're driving, be mindful of the blockage and the stop signs, the handheld stop signs. Please be mindful and kind. These people are not looking to pick a physical fight. If you're coming in by transit, please be aware that because of the picket line, the buses will not be going into the usual bus terminal area. All buses will be stopping right at Humber College Boulevard. Right down there, there's a bus stop, and students or people working inside the building will have to get off there and go to the building. So there are a few inconveniences, but if you're aware of them and if you're kind and polite, they should all be okay.
Ashta, on behalf of myself and the rest of everybody else at GHTV, I want to thank you very much for your work today out in the picket lines. We appreciate the work you've done.
Thank you so much, John. It's been a pleasure. You've been great as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we wrap down towards the end of the program here, it's important to address a few things. First of all, for those participating on social media, we thank you for your comments. We thank you for your questions. I'm sure other media outlets, including ourselves, will continue to stay in touch with everybody voicing concerns at the hashtag GHTV strike. So we want to thank you for people voicing those opinions, those questions, and concerns. It has been a huge help to this program in helping you, the viewer, assess this situation. It's also important, a reminder to be proactive. Keep involved in the conversation. It's important that you stay tuned to OPSEU's respective websites, social media, as well as your respective college campus in regards to maybe Humber, Guelph Humber, wherever you may be viewing this, as well as the counselor of college employers, pardon me. It's important to keep track of all these channels so that any updates that come forward can be brought to you right away, can be brought to the forefront, and continue to keep people informed. This has been a very special program for us, a very special piece of coverage for us, and we thank you so much for your patience and your intent to tune in with us. On behalf of GHTV, I'm John Patty. Thank you for watching.